Hello, good evening, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good Sunday. Today is another guest talk, and it's been a while actually since we've had a guest. But I'm being joined by one of the most amazing conservationists that I know. I'm going to be joined by Dr. Gauri Malapur today. She's a great friend and she is an avid, like extremely passionate about reptile conservation and she's worked with she's currently working with Gaia Mitra Collective Foundation in Goa, which she will tell us more about, and the amazing work that they're doing. She used to work at the Madras Crocodile Bank. She's done some amazing work with reptiles, and I won't make you guys wait for her longer. I'm just going to add her in, and we can talk about we can talk about turtles today, and we'll talk about some of the amazing work that she's done. Okay, we're just waiting to patch her in, and as soon as she's in, we're gonna start talking. Hello, Dr. Gauri.
Hi,
How are you doing?
very good. How's everybody there?
All good, all good. So I was just telling everybody how excited I am about this because I personally I love reptiles as well, and it's just that you've been doing such amazing work with them right from the beginning. So
Thank
I
you.
just wanted to ask you about the current foundation that you're working at. So if you could
Yeah.
tell us what you guys do.
So basically, my organization is called Gaia Mitra Collective Foundation. We're registered in Goa and we work in Maharashtra, Karnataka, and Goa. That's our area of focus. And we look at mainly biodiversity conservation, which is looking at landscape conservation, because in the areas that I work in Pilari mainly, we have large tracts of land that are contiguous forests with protected areas, and they're used by a lot of animals, from reptiles to large mammals, elephants, tigers, leopards, so on. So we want to protect these forests so that they become a corridor and a protected corridor for the animal movement. And the other thing we look at is sustainable living, which is a concept that is spoken about now quite a bit in a large number of circles. But working with the communities in that area and looking at forest conservation with community participation is something that we're very keen to do. We've been doing this project since 2015, and it's small steps because it's a new area for us to be working in, and getting everybody together to put such a large ambitious project in place takes the time that it needs. So baby steps, so we're going forward slowly.
It's amazing. It's the small things that eventually make a big difference.
Yes.
Uh, Yeah, so I think the most relevant topic right now, I think that even most of our viewers want to know about is, of course, pet turtles. That we get a lot of these pet turtles that are sold in the market, and a lot of them are Indian species and they're scheduled species. So could you tell us about some of the most common turtles that are found in the pet trade?
Yeah, so I work with the Turtle Survival Alliance in a consultancy capacity, and we have a significant program in India where we're working in priority areas and ecologically priority areas. But trade and welfare of the animals that are found in trade is also a very important aspect to the work that we have been doing. And it is very close to my heart for sure. I mean, that is because of the animals that are found in trade have a huge place in the conservation specter, more than just being kept as pets. So let me just try this, okay? I don't know if you're
Yeah.
going to be able to see this. Can you see what I'm
Just a
showing
little
you?
higher, just a little higher.
Hold on a second. Let me see if I can make this better. Is this good?
Yeah, slight. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Slightly
Is that
close.
better?
Yeah, this is better.
Closer? Tell me
Yeah.
where and how. Okay.
Just a little higher.
Is that
Yeah,
better?
that's perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
So one of the most common species that we see, well, couple of these are, I've just put in pictures of common species that
Yeah.
we see in trade. Maybe this helps. I don't know. Tell me if you can't see them. So this is the star tortoise,
Yeah.
and a large number of people have this species in their houses. This is an Indian species. It is protected under the Wildlife Protection Act. Right now, it is under Schedule 4 of the Wildlife Protection Act. We have requested for a review of the schedule of this animal simply because um, there are such a large number of animals in trade. There's not enough census of this species that has been done outside. So if somebody says how many star tortoises are in the wild, I would not know the answer to that question yet. But a large number of them are in captivity, and everybody generally says once they get to know this, people want to release this animal back in the wild, but it is a complicated process. There are various distributions of this animal, and to find out exactly where the animal came from so that we maintain a genetic viability of the population is very important. So to release one animal or two animals is difficult. Secondly, just taking an animal that has been in a house in a captive situation for a long time and putting it out there in the wild is not advisable. So you need to do something called as a soft release. So just taking tortoises and releasing them outside, I don't recommend it, though the idea behind this is very good. So hopefully we will be able to organize ourselves in a manner that eventually we will be able to do this should the need arise. In the meantime, I think if they want to hand over, there are turtle centers and stuff like that that we can do it. I will explain to you about that towards the end of the presentation of this talk. Um, the next one that is commonly kept is the Panchora species. This is Panchora tentoria, and it's the Indian roof turtle. And the reason for this is it's got really pretty colors. It has a very nice pink ring around it, and the colors are very pretty. So two of them I have seen quite commonly, this one and Panchora tecta of the same genus. And they're not found anywhere near Mumbai, where well, of my association with Mumbai, that's where I get the largest number of cases from, but I've seen them here in Goa as well. And in
Yeah.
some other, I have one rescued animal that's sitting at home with me. So large number of these, and these need to go back also to their original place of existence, which is mainly either the Chambal River or North India or in the Northeast or wherever along the Ganges. It's mainly found up north and not down south. So this is another one that is seen quite commonly.
I think these are normally sold as Singapore or Malaysian is what they
Yeah,
said.
I've actually lost track of what names people use for them anymore. So it can be anywhere from Singaporean to Malaysian to God alone knows what else. This again is a common species that we see.
Yeah.
Can you see?
Slightly higher if you could.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So this is the Indian black turtle or Melanochelys. Very, very commonly found in urban spaces everywhere across the country. And unfortunately, this doesn't figure by itself in the Wildlife Protection Act. So it's not technically a protected species, but it plays a very important role in the ecology of any space that it is found. It's an omnivorous turtle and generally feeds on anything that is available, including dead and decaying matter. So it cleans up the environment. So it's an ecological engineer, and therefore it should be given that kind of place. And putting it in wells, which very commonly people do because they feel that it will clean up everything, is well, it's great for the well because it does clean up stuff, but it's not good for the turtle because the well is certainly not an environment that it is comfortable in.
Yeah.
So this is another one. Then we go to this one. It's one of my actual favorites. This is Gyphemis hamiltoni, or the spotted pond turtle. And in my older days when, I was not that clued into conservation initiatives and just like turtles because they were turtles and reptiles, I would have easily gone and got this for myself. But I realize the value of this species now. It's an extremely active species, very, very intelligent and extremely pretty. Look how pretty this is an older turtle and this is how pretty it is. So babies are even cuter. So, also found in trade because of those very reasons, because of the reasons of it being brightly colored. It has beautiful yellow spots on the neck and on the mainly on the body. And as young animals, the spots are very prominent. It's a little black turtle. So because of the actual beauty of the species, it's found in trade now. Also found in the north and northeast, not possible to release in Mumbai. So repatriation of the species is going to take an effort. It's not just you can pick it up and take it to the nearest pond that you have and release it. So one of the things that we need to take care when we look at trade in the larger picture. Another one, I was personally extremely, how do I say it? Is the right word? Maybe it's shocked to see this one in trade because they're very, very limited population. This is a crowned river turtle, a Hardella thurji. The males have this, both species have this yellow ring that is, you can see this yellow marking. It's quite prominent. The males actually get a reddish marking when they are in breeding color. And this one has very small limited population. So the TSA is doing a lot of work on this species in situ population, which are found along the Sarju River, some places in the northeast and so on. And we feel that it needs conservation support, it needs protection. It's found outside protected areas in most places. So it doesn't have that basic protection of being inside a protected area where poaching is not so much. But because it's outside protected areas, that also needs, the additional support from people. So people who are going to buy turtles, I understand the enthusiasm for a person to have a turtle in the house. I relate to it at some level. I understand it. But when you're going out to do this, you should remember what turtles are in the market and, what the implication of having these turtles as a pet is to the larger conservation field as such. Okay. Now this one, right. So it's a beautiful specimen, but he's a devil in disguise. So this is the most common species that we found today, started with the trend of Feng Shui. And this is the Trachonids scripta. And this is the red-eared slider. And it's become as popular as having a dog or a cat in the house. And it's treated as such. I mean, it's a turtle that people allow to roam around in the house. It walks around, it responds to its name, like most turtles would do if they're conditioned. They're extremely intelligent creatures, but this is, and they grow big. So they come out as little 10 rupee coins or whatever the coin size, and they grow to be big. And sometimes it takes people by surprise. And when they become that big, in urban environments, it's hard to manage them. So the question is now, what do I do with this species? Where can I release it? And unfortunately, you can't, because it's not an Indian species.
Yeah.
It's something that, and it's not possible to send it back to South America, North America, where it's originally from. So if you buy this turtle, you're stuck with it for life. And therefore, the information that you have to get this before you get it is important. The government of India is also now requesting everybody to register their exotic pets, whether it's a bird or whether it's a turtle, everything has to be registered. So hopefully there will be like a directory of people who have these exotic species, and there would be support for these people who have these exotic species, because even zoos have a large number of these animals. Zoos can't take them, rescue centers have a whole bunch of them, they can't take them, and they're very hardy. You can't do too much wrong to these turtles. And you yourself have seen cases where they've fallen off from buildings and all that, and they survive. I mean, yet they go through a lot of pain, but they eventually they come out of it. And I'm personally surprised to see how the hell did it make it when it fell from, the fourth floor of the building. But they do,
Yeah.
they're hardy species. And there are possible ecological implications to this. There could be potential intergrades. They compete with the local species for resources. And unfortunately, since this information is not out there as much as it should be, there are people who are releasing them in water bodies. So there are places even within Mumbai where there are large water bodies that have a large number of these turtles that are now breeding. And that's really a dangerous situation for us to be in if we're looking at conservation of the species in general. Okay. I've gone through the hard shells.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to try and do a little bit of the soft shells that we have. The most common one that we see is this guy. This is the Lysimis punctata, or the Indian flap shell turtle, and that's because there are very prominent flaps on the belly, on the plastron of this species. And you will see this yellow spotted one is the North Indian version of it, and the ones that we find further down from Mumbai, in Mumbai, are plain gray. You don't see any spots on them. So this is this is Lysimis punctata andersoni, and then you have Lysimis punctata punctata. They're both Lysimis species. And this is Schedule 1 of the Wildlife Protection Act, also seen in wells and stuff, but they generally live in very slow flowing streams, bogs, paddy fields, and so on. And very often people pick them up when they see them crossing the road because they don't know where they're going or what they're doing, and more often than from the goodness of their heart because they don't want anything to happen to the turtle. But this can easily go back if it is been recently picked up. If it's been in your house for several months, or some people say several years or several decades as well, it's not an easy proposition again, because you have to do something called as acclimatization. They have to be able to survive in the wild. In captive situations, it's easier. They get ready food and so on and so forth, but in the wild, they have to fend for themselves, not only to get the food, but also protect themselves from predators. So this is important for us to understand that, releasing a turtle back into the wild, though, is a very good thing. It's not as simple as taking it to the nearest paddy field and releasing it. So it's important for us to realize that as well. So I'll go back to this one. Oh
Yeah.
boy. This is Nilsonia gangetica. Now, very often this is confused with the Lysimis because it's a soft shell. And it comes to us that it's very tiny. We don't know what it is, and people keep it in their houses. And it's also a meat eater, a voracious feeder, and it grows really big. The largest one I have seen was 82 kilos when I was working at the Troc Bank, and we called her Poolan. She was my favorite turtle, and she would come out on every Sunday and give us a viewing, but that was all. That's the only time we saw her, and such a beautiful animal.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can see this, but there are very prominent black lines here. I don't know
Yeah.
if you can see.
Yeah,
You
we
see those lines, and that's how you identify this, and the absence of the flaps. So if you get a soft shell, not all soft shells are Lysimis. So make sure that the species identification is clear before, and it's found quite widely across the country. So this is another species, and it's very hard to manage once it gets larger. They're aggressive species to handle. Very commonly found in trade now. And I'm not talking about pet shop trade, but the larger scale meat trade that is going on. In fact, TSA, I think recently, few days ago, did a large confiscation of over 500 animals, where 27 of those were large soft-shell turtles, Nilsonia gangetica being a part of that. Now, there's another species that I would like to bring attention to. And the reason I'm doing this is that we found this species a couple of times in Maharashtra and in and around Mumbai. We've dealt with one case of this. This is Nilsonia leethi. you see this red marking that is there, and there's
Yeah.
some prominent other marks on around the neck where there are tubercles. And this is now coming into trade both for meat as well as for pet trade. And it's really a conservation dependent species. There's very little information available on this. Towards Nagpur and that side, this species is found quite commonly. There are researchers who are doing this kind of work to find out the ecology of this turtle, where it's found, distribution, because there's very little information available. So if anyone sees this, I think this is the end of my picture story. There is an app that has been developed. It's called the Kurma app. It has been developed by the Turtle Survival Alliance India program and TSA, and with support from other organizations like the WCS and so on. And it's tied in with this Indian Turtle Conservation Action Network. And this app allows you to, if what I will do is I will send you a link, and maybe you can put it on your Instagram page and sort of share it for people's information. It's about how to use this app. This app allows you to give locations of where turtles are found, what the general, if you need identification help, or if you feel that there is an animal in distress, there will be. So the app was developed very recently this year, and it was released on, the official release was on 23rd of May, which is World Turtle Day. And we're still working out the glitches. It's developing as we go along. But right now it allows you to give your observations, it allows you to ask some questions and so on. There will be an expert list from across the country, which we will put up eventually. There are representatives, so I help represent Maharashtra and Goa. So if anybody needs any help, they can, sort of reach out to the network, and the network will help you with whatever questions you have. It will list all the rescue centers that will allow to help with either injured animals or whatever. We list out veterinarians, maybe like yourself and, other people in Mumbai and across the country who would possibly deal with this. And hopefully from there we will grow. There are a couple of other networks, like there is the Freshwater Turtle and Tortoise India. There's a group like that, and they work with the India Biodiversity Portal, and they do the same thing. So there's a lot of information that group provides as well. So there is a support system now that is in place for people who are interested in turtles. What kind of information is available, where to get it? It's with this age of technology, it's not limited anymore. So I personally would like to see trade restricted or regulated to be more realistic in the current situation. I don't think we can stop trade, because there are tiny shops that sell turtles, and reaching out to every single one of them may not be humanly possible right now. But at least if it's regulated, if people are more aware of where we are and what we're doing with these animals, it might be, in the conservation spectrum, it might be an easier thing to deal with and a more conscious way to deal with it for everyone.
Yeah, for sure. So I just wanted to ask you, there are a lot of people who say they find, especially the Indian black turtle, they're finding it in their village and they're, bringing it back home. They don't even realize how large these are going to grow as well. They just pick it up and bring it back, and obviously they can't live in a city home. They can't live in tubs. Their obviously husbandry isn't what we would like it to be. So how can we, number one, we have to educate these people, which is why we are even doing these talks. But now if we have convinced somebody to, give us their turtle for rehabilitation, or people are mainly scared of what's going to happen to us if someone finds out we have this turtle. So,
Okay. So let me start by saying the best way to deal with this. First step is don't pick it up. Okay? Because it's going from place A to place B. And we have fragmented the habitat. There are roads going through it, whether there are village roads or highways, they're very much existent. And the turtles know how to navigate that landscape. So, but if you have picked it up and brought it, the second thing to do is to state honestly where it's come from. Because only then can we help you either put it back or then decide on rehabilitation. Like I told you, if the turtle has been with you for a long time, whether it's, whether you've kept it in a tub or kept it in your house or whichever way you've done it, it's actually changed its setting for survival. It's adapted in some way to the condition that it has been provided in with all good intention. So I'm not going to debate that bit of it. So with the app, hopefully we will have rescue centers that are listed out. Currently, in Maharashtra, there is only one place in Pune that will accept these. There are no official record, but I think there are a few more. But we need to get in touch with them to say, are you going to be able to accept animals? Because every rescue center has a limited capacity. They all have limited resources. And to continue to take on animals when there is no finite, definite plan for their release back into the wild is extremely draining for the center itself. They're not going to be able to put unlimited resources into this. So we would eventually start by looking at what rescue centers there are, forming, identifying where the turtles have come from, where they have to go back, and then making a plan for them. There is no quick fix for this, Dr. Hina. There is no, okay, I take the turtle and tomorrow I'll put it back in the wild. It's not that simple, unfortunately. If the turtle has been picked up, say, a day or two ago, yes, you can certainly go back and release it exactly where you found it in the manner that you found it. So if you found it in a village path that is going towards the paddy field, then release him exactly there going towards that paddy field. Because that turtle knows that paddy field, knows where its home is, knows where it came from, knows why it was going to a particular location and where it was going. So if I bring a turtle from Ratnagiri and try to release it in Yeur in Thane, it's not going to work because the turtle doesn't know where it's going and it doesn't have orientation, nothing for it to survive. In that case, I would not release the animal. I would figure out where I can keep it, find the time, acclimate it, and then do the release. But this turtle rehabilitation is a very nascent science, though we have done repatriations in the past, but that's when we had a finite plan for them. We had a definite plan for, we're going to pick these turtles up from point A. They're going to be, because you also have to go through quarantine, you have to go through health testing, you have to go through all this. You can't just pick up a turtle and release it because you don't know what disease it, whether it's going, one is whether it's healthy to survive in the wild, whether it's carrying any, diseases that are not showing up to visibly showing up. So it's apparently healthy, but it might have some problems that are sitting quietly that can flare up when there is some kind of stress. So all these things have to be done. So for if it was a larger mammal, everybody would follow the reintroduction specialist group guidelines, which are very, very strict and very, very structured to tell you how the animal should go back into the wild. What should you do? There are no clear-cut guidelines for reptiles. It doesn't say do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So you have to use your judgment and you have to sort of extrapolate from there to say what are you going to do which is best for the turtle and for the environment that it's going to be released in. So unfortunately, no quick fix solution for the question that you asked me, but hopefully with organizations, with a network being built up, with information pouring in from everywhere, we're going to be able to get to a point where we're going to at least be able to find reasonable solutions to the problems that are faced by people.
Okay, I just had actually a quick request from one of my patients. They requested if you could also give them a little bit of information in Hindi.
Hindi? Sure.
They could understand like why is turtle conservation so important, and why we need to stop this trade.
Okay, So you will have to excuse my Hindi because I haven't spoken in Hindi since March, which was the last time I actually spoke in that language. So you'll have to give me a little bit of time to organize my thoughts. लेकिन कछुआ संवर्धन is something that we speak about. मतलब हम उसके बारे में काफी बात करते हैं क्योंकि कछुआ जो है जो नदी में रहता है या जहाँ खेत में है रहता है जहां भी है उसका एक स्पेसिफिक रोल है जो कोई कोई कछुआ मांस खाते हैं तो दे हेल्प क्लीन अप मतलब नदी या जो भी एनवायरनमेंट है वो उनको साफ रखते हैं दूसरा है कि जो भी वेजिटेरियन हैं शाकाहारी हैं जो पत्ते खाते हैं कभी कभी फ्रूट्स खाते हैं तो ये इनका काम सीड डिस्पर्सल मतलब जो बीज है वो उनको फैलाने में करते हैं सो दे सीड डिस्पर्सल्स लाइक बैट्स जैसे चमगादड़ एंड ऑल दीज आर कंसिडर्ड टू बी इकोलॉजिकली इंपॉर्टेंट वो भी महत्वपूर्ण है बिकॉज ऑफ द सीड डिस्पर्सल एंड ऑल दैट वैसे ही कछुआ वो हमारे एनवायरनमेंट के इंजीनियर्स हैं वो हमारे बाहर का जो एनवायरनमेंट है उसको एक स्टेबल रखते हैं इसीलिए उनका वाइल्ड में रहना जरूरी है तो जब भी हम कछुआ घर पे लाते हैं तो हमें ये जानकारी होना जरूरी है कि ये कछुआ उसका जो प्लेस है वो एनवायरनमेंट में है बाहर है घर में लाने से हम उनका जो बैलेंस है मतलब इकोलॉजिकल बैलेंस है चाहे हम फीमेल लेके आए तो हम वो जो उसके अंडे होंगे बच्चे होंगे वो वापस एनवायरनमेंट में नहीं जाएंगे क्योंकि हम अकेला जानवर रखते हैं घर पे हम ब्रीडिंग नहीं करते हैं ब्रीडिंग के लिए जो जरूरतें हैं उनकी वो हम घर के अंदर नहीं प्रोवाइड कर सकते हम नहीं दे सकते हैं उनको चाहे आपके पास बहुत बड़ा पॉन्ड हो लेकिन अगर आप चंबल का कछुआ घर में रख रहे हैं तो उसका कोई वैल्यू नहीं है चाहे आप जितनी भी उसकी देखभाल करें उसको एकदम अच्छे तरह से खिलाएं पिलाएं उसके बच्चे भी हो जाएं आपके घर पे लेकिन जब तक वो वापस चंबल में नहीं जाते हैं उनका कोई वैल्यू नहीं है तो इसीलिए इस जो ट्रेड जो हम कहते हैं जहां हम कछुआ लाते हैं क्योंकि वो घर के लिए अच्छा होता है या बहुत पैसे आते हैं या व्हाटएवर जो भी आपका सोच है या कोई किसी ने आपको बताया कि वो गुड लक है एंड सो ऑन एंड सो फॉर्थ जब तक वो नेचर में नहीं है तब तक
Dr. Gauri is just stuck.
streaming. Okay, am I?
Yeah, you're back.
Okay. So, like I was saying, जब तक वो नेचर में नहीं है उनका काम नहीं कर रहे हैं वो किसी के लिए गुड लक नहीं हो सकता है क्योंकि जब तक प्रकृति अच्छी नहीं है तब तक हमारे लिए कोई उसमें से लक नहीं हो सकता है ओके थैंक यू
Thanks, Sam, for your great insights as usual. I think Soham had also asked about red-eared sliders as an invasive species, but we've spoken about that previously. Soham, so I'll be putting up this video on IGTV and Facebook and YouTube as well, so you could go back and look at that. We've spoken about the RES as an invasive species as well. Okay.
So Soham actually knows my views on having RES and what to do with them as an invasive species. I really, really vehemently believe that people should not put them back out in the wild. Yeah. Unfortunately, there is no, like again, I don't have a quick fix for this. I don't have an answer that says, okay, go from here to there and keep your red-eared sliders with that person because it's not easy to, and it's a resource dependent initiative. So unfortunately there is no quick fix answer, and if anybody else has a solution to this which I haven't thought of yet, I'm happy to listen to that, but so far I haven't been able to come up with, I mean, I tried doing this myself, but again, to do it in a half planned manner is not a good thing because now there's no way that I can release the species that I have. So everybody is full with these, and therefore regulating this with information and awareness, I think it's a supply and demand issue here. If we realize that if you're going to get a red-eared slider, then you're going to have to take care of it for the rest of its life. And there is no way that you're going to be able to put it out anywhere. And that it really doesn't do anything in the form of luck and wealth and so on and so forth. Maybe we'll get somewhere eventually. I swear I don't have a Mercedes yet.
I think it's just, I think it's just slowly educating people. They need to know what they're getting into before they get into it. Hopefully we can do that, and I mean that can be a sort of change in the way people think about them
Yes.
as well.
Yeah, so even with people who, when they go to veterinarians for treatment or whatever, I think it should be a collective responsibility. It can't be just based on, a couple of organizations or couple of people who are doing this all the time. If veterinarians are treating turtles, or if there are rescue centers that are already there that are taking these animals on, it's a collective responsibility for us to sort of understand where we're coming from the trade perspective, to sort of identify what the issues are and then deal with them collectively. I know that it's a huge ask. I know that it's not easy to organize this kind of thing, but even at an individual level, if we sort of accept that, okay, we need to identify species, we need to know where they're coming from. If there are opportunities, find the opportunities to repatriate species as a group, as a body. Because even for rescue centers, if we identify the rescue centers and we open them up, how many animals are they going to be able to take, and where is the resource going to come from? It's not an easy answer, because the number of, with practice in Mumbai, as an individual practice in Mumbai, how many turtles you get on a regular basis for this. And what's the solution? There isn't any quickly. So I don't know, maybe in the next 5 years we'll have something.
I really hope so. But thank you so much, Dr. Gauri, for having this talk with us, and I hope a lot of people have been enlightened by it. At least
I hope so too.
I mean, really, I hope, because they need to know how much effort there's actually being put into the conservation, and why it's so important that these species are conserved, rather than, going out there and just picking them up and bringing them home.
Yeah. Letting them be where they are is far better than and then going back to look for them and seeing how well they're doing is a far better thing than bringing them and putting them in a tank in your house.
Okay, we have a question. Are there any books on their basic management?
Well, hopefully you have a legal species to keep at home. But there are several books depending on species, and maybe there are papers that have been written on it. There are websites that provide the information that is required. So it's species dependent. It depends on what species you have already. And also please then, contact a vet or healthcare provider who will be able to guide you on what species it is, what requirements are there, and so on. You can also write to people, that and I'm sure people will give you advice. Ready-made, there's one book. Mainly books that are written are for enthusiasts. So there's a lot of information out there on red-eared sliders everywhere. But enthusiasts have specific species books that they look at. So yeah, depending on the species, there is information out there that you can get. I mean, I don't know if I'm answering the question because I don't know what species they're looking at.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I hope it's a legal species anyway. But yeah, so that's I think. Yeah, I just hope we're able to create that awareness. I hope, eventually over time, with whatever little efforts that we can put from our end, we can make a difference and help in the conservation of all these amazing species that we have in the country.
Yes, we have
just a few.
Yes, sorry?
These are the ones that we mentioned are just a few. We have so many more.
Yeah, we have 29 species now totally. And more and more people find them because of, with internet and technology and all that, there's a lot more information out there. So there's also a lot more curiosity out there. So a lot of people pick them out just because they're curious to know what it is and so on. Yeah, 29 species. It's a tall order to look at conservation of all these species, but hopefully with so many people now interested and working together, it
Yeah.
should happen. Well, we can only look at it
Definitely. And
positively.
yeah, even for any of any vets and vet students that are also watching as well, like if you don't recognize a species, please feel free to send us pictures, ask us so that we can help you identify
Yeah,
those.
and look at the India Biodiversity. Look at the ITCAN network. There are photographs and information pages on all of them. There are other sources, websites. India Biodiversity Portal also has them. So look at these resources and use them because they give you information on all the species.
Definitely. And I will also be sharing the information about the Kurma app.
Please do.
And
I will send you the information. It's a small video on how to use the app. I will send you the video, and hopefully, if you can put it up on your page or whatever, then it will become a resource that people can use. Currently, it's only for Android phones. I don't think the iPhone application is on yet, but whenever it does, we will let you know.
Definitely, I think it's something that's very useful for everybody out there. So thank you so much, Dr. Gauri, for joining us today. It's been an amazing talk, and I hope I can actually see you face to face soon.
I don't know. I'm actually happily ensconced in my bubble here in Goa, but yeah, hopefully I will be able to make a trip to Mumbai. Thank you, Hina. Thank you for allowing me to talk about a subject that is very, very close to my heart, and hopefully we will have more people join in the movement to protect
For
these
sure.
reptiles. Thank
For
you very
sure.
much.
Thank you
Okay,
so much.
bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Okay, so all of you, thank you so much for joining in. If you have any questions about this, please feel free to ask. And I will also be putting up more information about the Kurma app and also what you can do to help in the conservation efforts of these amazing species. I mean, not only turtles, we have so many species in the wild that need help that we need to conserve. Okay, and slowly as we go along, we'll be talking about more conservation as well. But thank you so much for joining in today. I really hope you gained something out of this. Again, I will be putting up these videos on IGTV, YouTube, and Facebook as well. So thank you so much, everybody, and I will see you again very soon with another topic. Bye bye.